Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Fully Charged North America. It's episode 52, and tonight we've got... Are we live? Yeah. Thank you, producer. Okay, sorry. Apparently it's episode 53, but it says on TF2 52. So, whatever. It's fully charged. We're here. And we've got witness Alexandros, FrickMyNick, and Mr. Lou is on production. My name's Mitch. How are you guys going? Yeah.
I'm doing well, bro. How about you?
I don't know. I'm chilling. We've got a lot to talk about tonight, though. So, obviously, season 5 is around the corner. Yesterday was the qualifiers, and there's a few new teams coming out. I know there was Putis.org. I think MyAnimeList released a new team or something.
I was gonna say, if we want to run down this can of worms, I have a little bit of insight here.
Go for it.
Invite had 11 teams that signed up to play, and of course, this is TF2, so teams are on a whim to die at the blow of the wind. Somebody could sneeze the wrong way, and team just implodes, right? So until registration was done, all the teams had, the only requirement was to have 6. But there was a couple of teams that didn't have 6 players, because that's just how Invite works. Anybody who's played on a team, knows that things don't ever work out that cleanly. So, anyways, we have 11 teams, and Invite doesn't function the same when you have 11 teams versus for an 8-week season. So it can only operate with a maximum of 10. So we had too many teams. Long story short, Putis.org was yeah, we're dead. Suddenly we're not dead. Made qualifiers an actual mess for scheduling, but then qualifiers happened, and so our final list of teams that are going to be playing Invite this season, hold on, where is it? Is going to be Froyotech, Global Clan Fire, Global Clan Ice, Quad Damage, Putis.org, The Nest, HR Team, Witness Gaming, whole lot of Cron Drum, and MyAnimeList After Dark is, I believe, the full list.
Global Clan's taking over a bit. How many teams do they have right now? They've got 2 or 3. Yeah, right. Who knows next season? They might just have the whole division.
Yeah, where's the Witness Gaming dynasty to compete?
I was actually I was talking about last season kind of as a joke. I kind of wanted to sponsor all 8 teams and just name them all Witness Gaming with no difference. But didn't get around to it today. But I'm really happy to see a lot more sponsorships coming in for Invite this season.
Yeah, it's really good for TF2. I appreciate teams when they get sponsors and stuff. It's good for TF2, and yeah. What else do we need to talk about? We've got.
Well, I want to say too, along with not having not having sponsors in previous seasons, it's nice to see that there's a lot of sponsors. It's also nice to see that there's a lot of Invite capable teams that want to play Invite. That's a big thing, because in previous years and in previous seasons, it's been a struggle to get enough teams to play Invite. I think last season we had 6 or 7. So it's nice to see that there's a limit, and we actually had to run a qualifiers for once. Also, to touch on that, I don't know if our good friend, our guest here, Alexandros, has any words he wants to say on the 10 teams in Invite.
I'm glad to see at least 3 or 4 of them having finally stepped up in Invite. Crondrum in particular comes to mind. It's a team that's been around the top of Advance for 4 or 5 seasons now and just hasn't quite gone up yet, so it's really nice to see them here.
So yeah, I guess since we're already kind of on the topic of Invite teams, I don't know if we want to talk about returning teams. So last season, Froyotech won. I don't think there's a big surprise there. Corsia, now one of the Global Clan. I believe they are Global Clan Ice?
Yep. Ice.
Yeah, so Global Clan Ice is the Corsia roster. I think it's a little different now. I don't know off the top of my head who they had before and who they have now. I believe that's somewhere in our spreadsheet.
Pretty sure Zilly got changed out for 404 on men.
Yeah, and now they have... Did they have Laz last season? Who was their other soldier last season? They had Ash and Trip. So they have Laz instead of Trip. And they had 404 instead of Zilly now. But their scout combo Their Pocket Soldier and their Demo are the same. So returning from that season, I expect them to be another strong team returning this season. Wonderwall returns again. After, I think, a disappointing showing based on the names they had on that roster from last season. They return as Global Clan Fire, so that's Caps and Howard on Scout, Rakusa on Roamer, Fruit or Cactus Wactus on Pocket, Body on Demo instead of Pissy, and Lolguy returns as Medic. So, again, that's another team I think I'm excited to see, because I think they'll be hungry to prove themselves this season, because I don't think they lived up to the names on their roster that they had last season.
Yeah, do we want to go in depth about the team roster changes? Because there's a few significant ones, and there's
I think, with the exception of our move-up teams, the rest of the invite teams are kind of newly formed.
There is a whole, like, everything's been swapped around.
The classic shuffle.
Yeah, the classic NA shuffle. I love it. There's one other thing I wanted to mention. Slumnish is back, and he's on
Yes.
Protech again. So that's a big
Well, not
move.
again. I don't think he's. To my knowledge, he's never played on Pro.
Has he not?
Sixes. I think he played. Like,
Yeah, he's only ever
Pro-Land or
played on
something with
their
them.
sevens team, I think.
Yeah, he played Pro-Lander with them.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, I was gonna say, notably Froyotech, we see the return of the Banny Soldier. I believe the last time we saw this played was season 24 or 25, one of those two seasons. It's been a hot minute. But Banny will reprise his role as Pocket Soldier to make room for Slumnish on Combo Scout. But the rest of that team is still unchanged. You still have Eric as their flank scout, Blaze on Roamer, Habib on Demo, and Skis on Medic. I don't think there's a ton to talk about there. They are a reigning dynasty, and if you pay attention to TF2 at all, you've probably heard of them, and their roster is virtually unchanged. So I guess to keep going down the list, the next list, at least in the spreadsheet, is Quad Damage. Our good friend Alexandros, who joins us here today, is on that team. So that consists of Phone and Ed on Scout, Alexandros and Paul Dog on Soldier, Stock on Demo, and Lucrative on Medic. So kind of like a returning team from previous seasons. I know that Paul Dog, Stock, Lucrative, and Ed have all played together on previous iterations of Mad Luxurious, is what they went by previously. So... but they've added some new additions. They've added Phone and Alexandros. So, since you're on the team, Alex, do you have any outgoing thoughts about this season?
Not really. I think the goal is just to either try to make playoffs or just underneath of them.
Alright. Short and sweet. Keep going down the list. Not really returning from last season, but sort of. Yosh and Virgil played together last season on Witness Gaming, and they've made Pudis.org, and allegedly their roster, I don't know how true this is, because I've heard otherwise, is going to be Shamu and Yosh on Scout, it's going to be Crypt on Soldier, Cuckoo Kachu as Pocket, although I've heard from Koo in the last 2 days that he's not playing, so I don't really know what the bat situation is. And then it's going to be Dingo on Demo and Virgil on Medic. So sort of a returning core of Witness Gaming, although vastly different. I like the players that they're bringing in. I think that Shamu and Crypt bring some good experience. I think Cuckoo Kachu is kind of one of those next up players. So I'm excited to see them play if he does, but...
I was just going to say, one of the things I've been hearing is that Mirror Man might potentially be playing in Cuckoo Kachu's spot if he's unable to play the season for this team.
So I've also heard similar things, although I don't know how true that is. I have not talked to Mirror Man, but like I said, I've talked to Cuckoo Kachu in the last 48 hours, and he said explicitly I'm not playing. So, but I also know that team was like scrambling to get 6, so it might be like one of those things where he's playing until they find like a good substitute, but I'm not really sure. To keep going down the list, we have the Nest is the next team that we have. So it's one of the teams that we saw in the qualifiers. So in my mind, this is kind of like the at least part of like the Milky's core made it to this team, along with some other players. So they're gonna have Esper and Gungan on Scout. I don't think Gungan has ever played Invite, so be interesting to see him as a rookie coming in. Esper played part of last season on Scout, or 2 seasons ago. Which was it? You played with them ago with 2 seasons ago? Okay. So yeah, my old man brain is kind of failing me. I apologize. The days get mixed up, but Esper makes a return to Invite after a season off. So I'm excited to see Esper returning to Invite because I think that the reprised Ashi roster pulled a little above their weight class. So I'm see if the Nest can pull that magic again. Joining the Scout combo, they have Jets and Strider. So the team that got second in Div 1 last season behind Crondrome was Milky's. That team was scheduled to play Invite, but unfortunately bit the dust at the last minute. But the Soldier Duo has stayed together, and they're joined by former demo for HR team, who is playing Invite this season without them, Cray and Random Cookie on Medic. So I think this is a bunch of players that, again, are kind of like the next up. I know Cray's been around for a long time, along with Jets and Strider, but they've never really made that push into Invite. So I'm excited to see them play as well, because I think a lot of them have shown a lot of potential when they've played in Advanced, although they've just never really had their break to get to Invite. So be interesting to see how they do coming into their season of Invite.
Yeah. Is there any more rosters that we should probably highlight?
I was just going to run down them all, just because...
Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going.
So,
we've got...
I mean, we've already done, 6 of them? So we've got just 4 more to go. So the other teams that we saw in the qualifiers that made it into Invite was HR team. So that is a team that played together last season in Advance. I believe they got 3rd, was their final standing. And so that roster consists of 4 of the same players that they had last season. So they have Magma, Nimby, Mopsy, and Dat. Dat, I believe, was a sub, but played some throughout the season. They also have Dank, who is playing Medic for them, who's also, again, kind of one of those next up players. If you played Pugs, if you've been around the NA pugging scene and around, then you've probably seen Dank, and I think he's a very mechanically talented Medic who's got a lot to prove and will be a good fit. And then they have Golden picking up the reins on Combo Scout. I think Golden is goated. This guy is actually nasty. He was dropping 40 frags in every map of the qualifiers. He was just actually owning kids. And then to round out the move-up teams, we have Crondrome, who played together almost entirely last season, so their roster returns, albeit with people on different classes because they were off-classing last season. But it's going to be Bulp and Animus on Scout. It's going to be Skelly and Ali on Soldier, Nomi on Demo, and Palladium on Medic. This core has been playing together for ever and ever, so it's exciting to see them play an Invite because they've been one of those top... Again, I think they kind of fall in the same category as the other move-up teams, where they never really got their break, and I think they were waiting to win that Div 1 advanced kind of thing before they moved into Invite.
And they finally
did it.
Yeah, Season 4. They won it. Div 1. So that's huge. A lot of potential in the Invite division. And then, obviously, we've also got My Enemy List After Dark. You want to go through that one?
Yep, so we got 2 more rosters. We have My Enemy List After Dark. So this is the Morning Light team from last season. They have moved, so instead of Dingo and Soapy, they brought in Trip and Saffrix, although I think Saffrix is going by Glimmer now. Is that a bunch of alias changes in the the last year? So it's hard to keep up. And I'm an old man, I forget these things. So Kev and Alpha are going to be their scouts. So returning from last season. They have Trip, who joins from Corsia, now Global Clan Fire, to fill in the Roma role in place of Soapy Meister. They still have Psy Guy in Pocket and AZN on Medic. Again, like we said, we have Glimmer on Demo. And then our final team that made it into Invite is going to be Witness Gaming. So it's going to be Exile and Rio on Scout, Ether and Soapy Meister on Soldier, and Logan and Toy filling in the Demo Man and Medic spots respectively. I'm excited to see this team back in Invite because Exile, Ether, Logan, and Toy have played together a lot. And they brought in some new talent. Rio did really good on Witness Gaming last season, and Soapy in his rookie season of Invite last season was actually just nasty. So I'm excited to see if this Witness Gaming team will do really well, because I think that they have a lot of potential.
Yeah, me too.
Not biased.
No. Yeah, I think this group is really special. I'm really happy to be sponsoring these guys, and really you had Ether, Toy, kind of all play together with Exile last season in Div 1. And I think they were kind of off class in there, so this is kind of their breakout. We're actually going to try and put in the work, and they really been, working hard. I think Exile is turning out to be a pretty solid flank scout, and he works hard. And Rio is just a really strong captain role, and I think we were really fortunate to pick up Soapy too. That guy's like
He's
a god.
insane.
He's a god among men.
If people haven't seen his debut, Frag Move, I think it's just called Debut. Go watch it. It's actually disgusting.
Oh, dude, it's fucking amazing. Yeah.
Don't watch it at work. It is not safe for work. There are actual war crimes that are committed in that.
He has a lot of frags in the Witness Gaming frag video too. Like the guy's just a high velocity player. Like I love it.
So I'm very excited to see him paired with Logan, because I think Logan is one of those players that, again, like he played Invite with a team that went 0-16, I believe. Never really got a chance to prove himself, but now that he's got, I think, a better supporting cast, I'm very excited to see Logan play Invite as well. Because again, I think he's been one of those players that's never really had a break in Invite. So I'm excited to see this season of Invite, because I think there's a lot of teams and a lot of players that never really got like a really good chance to prove themselves. And now that there's 10 solid Invite teams, I think it can go any which way.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I don't know, maybe just like a Witness Gaming factor where you just put out good demos or something, but I think Logan's going to have a good season after what Sin Karma did on our roster last season. So, just keep a little eye on Logan.
Yeah, there's definitely a few teams to keep an eye on this season. It's going to be a packed season.
Yeah.
Hopefully no teams drop.
Yeah,
that's the hope.
I was gonna say, it could be like one of those Invite seasons where playoffs has just survived to the end of the season.
Yeah, I'm not from this region, but everyone knows in TF2, North America is the region that always drops teams, and it's usually just before the season starts or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's good to see so many teams. There is other changes though. Oh yeah, you go.
Since we do have him here, and we were fortunate to get him in, I want to ask Alexandros some questions about the teams, because you've been scrumming them. I've played HR team, and Crondrum, some of the other teams that we expect to be around the bottom, but again, I don't really know how it's going to stack up this season. I have no expectations coming into it as a player, but having scrimmed more of the teams, what are your thoughts coming into the season? Who are give me like one player to watch on like every season, on like every team, and just a couple general thoughts.
If for one player to watch on every team, I guess I'll just go in order of how they're listed in RGL right now. So for Freyotech, I would say Slemnish, because he's the new player. Not necessarily because he's the best player on the team, although he is probably one of the better ones.
He's going to be
the
nasty, I think, by the end of the season.
Yeah,
like, Slemnish's raw aim with the raw amount of experience that Furyo has, he's going to be disgusting by the end of the season.
Yeah, losing 70 HP across the map to Pistol's not fun. HR team, I don't know, I think there's a lot of good up-and-coming players on HR team. Det's good, Golden's good, Nimby's good. I think they all have a lot of potential, so it's hard to name just one. I'll probably go with Golden just because of his performance in the qualifiers. For Witness, I'm going to be mean to Soapymeister, who I know you love. I'm going to say Logan. I think Logan is by far the player to watch on that team, just because he hasn't really had his chance yet, and I think he's really going to do well. For Global Clan, Fire, it's definitely not Caps, right? I think we can all agree. It's probably got to be Vadi or Fruit, because Fruit has the most air shots of last season on Soldier.
That's a big stat, you know.
Which we all know that's the only stat that matters.
I was gonna say, let's be honest. The only stat that really matters is like how much can you put in the frag movie. If you're hitting the most air shots statistically, gotta have some good ones in there.
Yeah. For Crondrum, I'm gonna say either Animus or Nomi. Animus is playing his actual main. Nomi has played every single class really, really well, and I think Nomi's demo is actually disgustingly good, considering he's only played it for like I think one full season now, right?
Well, a little bit of I was gonna say, but in recent times, but way back in the day when Crondrum was like a UGC team and stuff, Nomi was actually the original demo for that team before he moved to Scout.
Oh, okay.
So a little bit of lore. Because I remember like way back in the day, but before my first season of ESCA, we were scrimming and Nomi was on demo, so this was like 4 years ago.
But yeah, I'm probably gonna say I would say Nomi's probably the player to watch, because it's, you know, he hasn't been on the roll in a while. Animus is kind of just known as being a really good scout. For quad damage, I'm probably going to say either Stock or Ed, because they're both really, really good. I would say probably Stock, though. Stock's probably just going to go off this season. For my anime list, I'm going to say Saffrix. I think Saffrix is probably a lot better than the last time he played Invite, which was a while ago. I think his demo has gotten a lot better since then, and all the other players we've seen in Invite much more recently, so I think he'll be the most fun to watch and see how much his game has changed. For Pootis.org, since we don't really officially know who their full six is, I'm pretty sure it's Mirrorman. Kukuchu actually messaged me during this to say it's Mirrorman, but I don't know for sure yet. I'll wait till I hear it from the rest of the team.
Yeah, so
We're being told by
that's
production that Mirrorman's not on the roster, but you know,
Okay.
and the invite plays a little loose with the rules. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna say either Yosh or Dingo for Pootis.org. Yosh is just insanely good, and then so is Dingo. So yeah, I mean every player on that team is pretty good, so it's hard to say. For the Nest, I'm really excited to see what Cray can do. Cray's absolutely nuts, and I'm looking forward to see what he does in his first season of Invite. And for the final team, Global Clan Ice, I'm going to have to go ahead and give it to the only teammate I've had on that team, Alex.exe. The best demo in North America, if you don't count Habib.
I was gonna say Alex.exe last season was super solid, and I don't know if you agree with this sentiment, but I think for about the past year or so, with the exception of like Zaylor, whatever season he played, maybe two, so maybe the last couple of seasons, he was uncontested like the second best demo in Invite, but Habib's been pretty unchecked. But I think during the finals last season, Alex was doing a good job of keeping pace with him. And I think the other player to watch on that team that I think a lot of people are overlooking is Brand Slam. That guy came into Invite and has been actually just insane. Known for his demo play before he played in Invite, and then he's played Scout since he's came to Invite. I think he's been actually nasty the last like 3 seasons he's played with this core. And so I'm really excited to see Brand Slam continue to develop as a player, because especially in the RGL Cup that happened a few weeks ago, he was really, really good. So,
Well,
I don't know if you want to move on to the next topic, but I think that's about all there is to discuss for Invite teams.
Yeah, there's been some new map changes, I believe. We've got Process and Clear Cut. Process, we're now going for the Refresh project. So this season we'll be using F7 instead of Final, which gives us new changes like, I think, wider doorways and a bunch of other things like that.
It's just a lot of good quality of life things. I don't know if we have a B-roll of Process to show, but there's just a lot of doorways that have like weird clippings to get caught on. A lot of the stairs were actually stairs based on their hitboxes, so Rocket and Sickies had like really weird splash on them. Some of like the pipes on last and on like second, again, had just very awkward hitboxes that like projectiles just get eaten by them. So it's just a lot of good quality of life things for Process. Not that map really needed any like major updates, but they're all like the little bells and whistles. You know, there's like just less random words, but there's less random stuff that just like happens, or it's like, oh, my rocket got eaten by the terrain when that probably should have splashed just out for 80. You know, that kind of stuff.
And then there's also Clear Cut, but I think those are just very minor changes, nothing too big to talk about. Div 1 and Div 2, they've merged now, haven't they, to become like just advanced for this season. Is that correct?
Yeah,
that is correct.
That's a large div right there.
That is. Good luck to the admin team there.
I think it's like a 20-team div.
I kind of like that though. It kind of gives me like the vibes that ESCAIM had back in the day, where there's like a larger div, and you know, there's kind of like the big dogs in the div, and there's like the up and comers that kind of want to prove themselves. Not that they've made it out like the lower divisions, but like even though it's like one div, there's a definitely like a skill divide at a certain point, and it's like, can you punch into the second like level, right? Can you play with the big dogs? And then it's like, where do you place with the big dogs that are, you know, the guardians of
variety.
Yeah, I love that. It's crazy because like I'm actually kind of someone, I really don't play a lot of sixes. I kind of started off just like as a Highlander main, so I actually played main last season and got pretty deep into playoffs, and I started playing like I guess the new advanced where it's just this large div, and you can easily like, bro, I can't tell you how big of like a drop off it is. It's actually so humbling. So I'm kind of really excited to see how like all the lower like advanced teams kind of adapt and change and grow. Because I think it'll just make for a really, really fun experience for everyone all around.
I've put up a poll. We've got a bit of conversation going in the chat
Gully Wash,
about
good.
Gully Wash. You know, this is a conversation I've had with lots of people. I feel like Gully Wash is starting to show its age a bit, and is it still worth playing in RGL? I don't know. It's bad. Remove it.
I
was
was
gonna
it's
say-
great to play in RGL. They just got rid of 2 cheaters. Never been nicer.
Yeah. I was gonna say. I mean, I think Alex and I are both a little biased because we both happen to main soldier. But I like Gully Wash a lot. I think it's a very fun map. I think it's a map that like your projectile classes, if they're good and they're smart, have a lot of say in the game. But if the projectile classes aren't doing what they need to be doing, then the scouts kind of get free reign, get to run at people. So
Yeah.
But not biased. Not biased as a soldier player who just gets to shoot the floor in big door.
Does it need, I don't know, just some modifications, a bit of construction to the building at all?
I think there's a couple things that are a little sketchy. There's like some of the sticky traps where there's like holes in like the boards that are like a balcony on second. There's like also just like the map is technically uneven where certain props on one side of the map are solid and not on the other. I think if they unify that, like the little things, it would be good, but I don't think it really like it's not like process where those things matter as much. But again, I don't think it would hurt to have them.
And no whitelist changes this season, no plugin changes. Everything's just the same, I guess.
So yeah, the comment on that, I don't think there's any really need for whitelist changes.
Yeah,
At
everything's
least
a
right
bit
now. I think
stable.
all the things that we have unbanned don't really hurt the game. I think all the things that we have banned, like the Mad Milk and Criticola, they just add that like element to the game where it's like, all right, we're gonna buff Scout even more, or like, yeah. I don't think we really need any whitelist changes. I think where we're at until those items change, or other things change the game substantially, that's not going to really change. In terms of whitelist options, I think we're pretty good on what we have in RGL. I say this as somebody who talks to the head admin Maka a lot. Like having like the ramp bug fixes, like the fixed fall damage. I think those are all just good quality of life things that, in a pub they don't really matter, but in a competitive environment, taking the RNG out of them is really nice. But I don't know if there's any more that we would take or add to really affect the game.
I mean, I think my favorite one has to be the arrow fix, where like if your medic is right next to you, he can still arrow you.
Yeah, that's super nice. I know they've been talking, and I know ETF2L played with a couple different plugins. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on this and how they would affect NA potentially, but having gunboats apply even when you're taking or doing damage to an enemy. So like currently how gunboats work, if you rocket jump, right, you get the reduced rocket damage, but if you hit an enemy and you still have gunboats equipped, it actually nullifies the gunboats effects. So like if a scout's directly in your face and you shoot a rocket at them, you don't take the 30 max damage, you actually take the full 100 damage. And then there's also like the medic attach speed, so if you're healing a scout, you get to move the same speed as your heal target. So I don't know if you have thoughts about those coming to NA, and how they would affect RGL.
Well, I think I remember there was a poll and there was a thread after the ETF2L season with those plugins ended, and from what I remember, most of the players didn't actually like the medic speed revert plugin and the gunboats plugin. They felt the gunboats one was actually a bit too powerful, because then the scout has to hit 2 perfect meat shots into a soldier to kill him, whereas before he could just hit the 1 perfect one and then maybe like a 20 damage shot and the soldier would die.
Yeah.
So they were suggesting like a middle ground of maybe 40 damage. And then the medic one, they found that it actually slowed down the game, so they weren't really in favor of it. But yeah, I'm not, at least for me personally, I'm not convinced that I would want to bring those over. But I think it might be worthwhile to run a cup with maybe one of those things at a time and not necessarily both of those at the same time.
I was gonna say that seems like a confounding issue for me with like putting multiple plugins in the same thing for like a season of ETF2L. And I knew that happened, and I know that there was like a couple threads about them, but I never got around to reading them. So I was hoping that somebody did here. Thanks, Alex, for actually doing the time to read them. But yeah, I was a little disappointed. It's actually something I brought up to Maka when they announced the RGL Cup. I'm like, it's just a straight cup. There's no nothing. Because I think that's something that ETF2L has done really well in their off seasons, is when they run cups, they run them with a purpose of like, all right, do we want to implement the things that we're learning from this cup into the next season? Are they worth having? And so I'd be really interested to see how that applies to NA, because I agree with you. I don't think the scout attached speed going away, I think it benefits the game. And so by taking it out, you slow the game down because it's just harder to move your medic forward. But I'd be interested to see like the gunboots one. And then I think there was one other one that they played with, if I'm not mistaken. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I could be wrong.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think in terms of plugins and like what we have in RGL right now, I think RGL's in a pretty good place.
Yeah, that's good. Do we want to talk about predictions for this season? You know, who do we think is going to make playoffs? Actually, yeah. What do we know what the playoffs format is going to be? Is it double limb or?
For invite, it's top 4 double a limb, and then for advanced, because I don't know if we're going to do predictions below that. I know advanced is going to be top 8 single a limb.
Right. Okay. So for advanced, that's definitely high stakes for them. To try and win.
I think advanced historically, though, and even in ESEA times, it was always single limb. I can't remember any time it was double.
Mm.
And yeah, and that usually, I think it's so rare that it ends up like ever mattering with double limb. I think double limb is better when the competition's closer, but I don't think we see that as much in advanced, just because teams improve in advanced over time, and whereas in invite, there's so few things to work on that, like, you know, your data's a little more close. You need some more data points to accurately predict who's winning. Whereas in advanced, I don't think it's the case, and I like that especially with the division size. Having 8 teams out of like 20 make playoffs, I think is a good number. So, and then for invite, it's the classic top 4 double a limb. I'm actually curious to think of what you think, Alex, having played a lot of the teams, because you know, I think as somebody from the outside looking in, I only can really predict roster strength, and kind of know about like, you know, where they kind of stack up in terms of scrim results. But having played them more and actually having played in those scrims, who do you think the top 4 are? Maybe give us like a top 4 and then the wild card for the 5th.
I mean, it's kind of hard to say who the top 4 is just clean. Like I think
you got 2 given to
like
you.
top 2.
I think you've got 2 given.
Easy. Like you've got Korja and you've got Froyo. Like there's just no question they're the best 2 teams right now. I think it's fairly close between Witness Gaming, Global Clan Fire, my team, and Mal, at least from scrim results, and probably Putis. But Putis is probably a bit above those, or at least it was as of the Winter Cup and latest scrims. And then I think after that, it kind of becomes most of the move-up teams, but it's not a huge gap separating them, if that makes sense. Like I think it's a lot less of a gap than it was in some of what we're used to seeing in the history of ECA Invite and RGL Invite, where it's like there's the 1 or 2 teams that got put into the division so it didn't fold and die that just get rolled all season. I don't think that's going to be the case this season.
Yeah, I was going to say, and one of the points I wanted to make is, I didn't say it earlier, but I'd be very surprised if a team went 0-18 this season. I think I'd be pretty surprised about that. And yeah, I kind of agree with you where I see Invite in kind of 3 tiers. There's kind of like the move-up teams. There's Furyo and Global Clan Ice that are kind of the top, and then there's the rest of the teams that are kind of in the middle. And I think those kind of blend, and yeah, I think Looster's point that he typed to us is, what team do you think is set to exceed expectations? Who do you think your real wild card coming into the season is?
I mean, I think it's kind of hard to say because I think I've been around most of these teams for so long that I think I've got a pretty good idea of what I should expect from them. I think in terms of just maybe what you'd think of as what their history is, maybe Crondrome would be the team to exceed expectations in that they have probably the most players off-classing on their team. Or at least off-classing relative to what they've been playing the last 4 seasons. So you might think they won't do as well, but I think they'll actually do very well. But I think that's I don't really have a good answer for that one in terms of where I think they're at. I think where I think they're at is pretty solid for now. Hopefully, I'll be proven wrong, and some team will do very, very well. But for now, though, it doesn't seem like that's the case.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with you. It's hard to tell really early in the season, especially too because rosters were different from the Cup, and some of the teams are like, are we going to play Advanced? Are we going to play Invite? It really depends on the pickups that we get and kind of how our scrim results are doing. So some of the teams weren't scrimming the other Invite teams. Like I know HR team was scrimming a lot of the Advanced teams in the off season, and maybe not looking for as high of like scrim partners. But after they've kind of finalized the roster, they're like, hey, maybe there is something to this. Maybe we can play Invite. So preseason is always got to take that with a grain of salt. To move over to the next division in Advanced. I don't know if you've scrimmed any Advanced team, Alex. I think your team only scrims really the other Invite teams, because that's typically how lucrative schedules, because I know he's told me no in the past when they played Invite, we weren't an Invite. But I don't know if Witness has any
Advanced teams when I was trying out for other teams.
Okay. So, yeah, give me some Witness predictions, because I know you played some of the Advanced teams in the off-season, because I played against you in some of those scrims.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you have like a top 8 prediction or maybe a top 4 for Advanced, because I think Advanced is also going to be super cutthroat at the top.
Well, I mean, I actually have been going for a ride because I couldn't find a team for the longest time, but I ended up on Team Solo Umps, so now I'm just kind of hanging with those guys. And not to pat myself on the back, but that's probably going to be the team that wins. Spoilers.
I was going to say that's a scary looking team.
Yeah, usually paper. If it's weird because I don't really know a lot of people because I've been playing sixes for so little, but I usually gauge team strength by how many class restrictions there are on the other team.
I was gonna say, I was really gonna point that out. Like most teams have 1, and you've got 4.
Yeah, we have 4, and we have 3 soldier mains and 1 scout main that can't play their mains. But I'm probably gonna be subbing this season and working on the back end of Witness gaming stuff and helping, just mentor some Highlander teams, but I'll be backing up Lights. I think that team looks pretty strong. Who else I try out for this season? I think Goblin Zone. I kind of like those guys a lot.
Yep, Goblin Zone is another one on my list to watch out for.
Love those guys. There's a lot of main moves I'm seeing too. Like Watch This and Lobsters.tf are two ones in particular that I really like. I tried out for Watch This about a few weeks ago, and even though the main move ups are really dedicated, and I think if you want to see kind of a team that pulls out some upsets from that mid tier of the advanced division, I think Watch This has the potential to do it. Lobsters TF has some really great scouts if you need to learn some names. You're just I don't know. Usually the top 4 is so close. It's hard to say.
I've scrimmed a lot of the teams because I've been scrimming pretty hardcore in Advanced this offseason. I think you touched on most of the teams that I wanted to touch on. I think a couple more teams to watch out for is I by WinRAR, and I think they kind of fall into the same category as Goblin Zone, where the supporting cast is pretty good, and they've played with each other in the past, but they have just a star combo scout on their team. Goblin Zone has Sam, and I by WinRAR has Air, and I think those are 2 of the best scouts in the division, depending on how much they actually care and want to practice, but they have a lot of potential to do really well this season. I agree with you where Lobsters TF, having scrimmed that team, has really strong scouts. We scrimmed them, and they definitely caught me off guard. I was like, who are these guys? I've never heard of either of them, but they're really, really good. I think Cat Posse is another one of those teams that they have Shining Star and Yum Yum on scout. It's another team with a really strong scout combo that I anticipate to do well. And then another team that I had on my list, although I have some question marks now, is formerly the No Name roster. I don't know if we want to open that can of worms, but they have 6 paid up on their roster, even with the exclusion of Mixer and Elijah. So I don't know if we want to talk about that situation a ton. I don't know if anybody has any extra insight on that they want to share, but that's a hard ask. Just don't cheat.
It's hard. You gotta earn money.
It's a pretty hard. It's a pretty low bar to set, but apparently it needs to be there.
I'm pretty sure they picked up Anthony and Mojo yesterday. Because me and Anthony were kind of talking about it. If you wanted to main again, because he was kind of I think he was. Last I talked to him, I saw him like in a pub trying to like main spy. He had like a whole spy profile picture, trying to be a pub spy main, and he sent me a message saying, "Hey, should I play this season?" I said, "Bro, if you can save a team, by all means." I always tell people, man, like, just don't cheat, and this kind of shit won't happen. I think even all that aside, like, I think the team looks good if they do stay around.
Yeah, I agree. I still think that even with a couple losses to that team, I still think that team seems solid on paper. We'll have to see if they make any more rubs or substitutions over the course of the season, because they got a couple other sketchy characters there that, we got some back bans on that team. Not to say that they are cheating, but it doesn't look great
they're
on
not
paper.
cheating. What are you talking about? They just got back bans, Back bans actually, it shows how pro you are, Yeah. When does Lucy get one? Oh, okay. Another topic we could talk about. This one's a fun one. Team names. We don't talk about it ever, but like I
That is
seriously,
Like,
there's
best
an
to best
art.
worst?
Yeah, there is an art creating a good team name.
I think Witness Gaming's pretty good.
Especially in advance this season, there are a bunch of like, top
I
tier
honestly
team
think
names.
I honestly think that this is one of the, at least in Advanced and Invite, this is one of the weakest seasons we've had in terms of team names.
Really? Wow, that's a big statement.
I'll call it out. I think people got to step up their game.
We need an article on that.
Yeah,
how to make a good team name.
We do need one.
Like, I don't know. There's no
who's the
team like the team, or the Team Solo Umpst. That's a solid team name. I'll give them that one. I think that's maybe the best one in Advanced. But I really. Oh yeah, I don't know if we want to keep. I don't know if we want to keep going down the rabbit hole of team names, because some of them get pretty raunchy and pretty extreme. It was like, yeah.
I mean,
on broadcast,
pretty top tier.
Yeah, considering it's a name pub. I'm kind of disappointed that there was a team that was playing in the offseason that consisted of like Cuckoo, Kuchu, and Sin Karma, but their scout combo for a while was going to be Catface and Monster, and their team name was going to be Catface Monster, like a pun off of Cafe Monster. Very disappointed that team didn't happen, because that would have been top tier. But yeah, I think. I was gonna say the lower divisions always have awesome team names.
SV Cheats 2. This one just come out of main. I want to see that. What else?
The newcomer winners from last season, they were RGL on Ice last season. What is their team name? They have a really good team name. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but it was really funny.
Lucy's on their way.
I need to find out, because like I said, I remember seeing it and then seeing the roster and be like, damn, these guys have a great team name.
Main has a team named Shoddy Bend Back Like the Matrix. Yeah. Right.
Oh, Six Homies Kissing is what their team name is. So shout out to that, because not only do they have a great team name this season, but they had RGL on Ice last season, which is also just a great team name. So shout out to those guys, because they got something cooking up in the creativity department, if nothing else.
Yeah. Which region has the best team name though? Like I don't know if you guys concentrate on like ETF2L and OzFortress, but
I don't.
Their game is pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like ETF2L would have the best because they've got like different languages, so they can spice it up more.
That's true, but I also feel like if you don't speak those languages, you kind of miss out on them, So
yeah, but that's part of the joke. Like you can say inappropriate shit and not get banned.
I was the other thing too is I feel like
Doof was good for a while.
Yeah, that
was a fun team name.
It was a pain to say on broadcast though. What does this doof? But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if we have a ton more we want to talk about. I think that kind of wraps up at least the things we had in our Excel doc that we were kind of sorting things. Big shout out to Looster for setting that up.
I don't know. Is it too early to talk about LAN? I don't even know if it's possible in your
LAN.
Well, I mean, as somebody,
because people keep rumoring it that it might be possible this year.
Uh,
I don't know. Okay,
It's so
as somebody who
difficult.
lives in North America and follows the COVID
Yeah.
trend pretty closely, I would honestly say that this season it's probably not a possibility. Just because if it was a possibility, like in terms of cases and in preventative measures, if it did happen, right, there just wouldn't be enough time logistically to sort it out.
yeah.
End of the summer season, I think, is also a stretch because I honestly don't think that, again, if the corona situation does get better, right, even with the safety precautions, like traveling's still going to be a big strain. People staying together at lands is going to be a big thing because staying in Airbnbs and because a lot of bubbles are going to get
Yeah.
crossed. So again, I don't think
So-
the next 2 seasons is really that feasible. That
Probably
being
looking
said,
towards winter.
the winter season is a potential possibility. I know that the winter season lands are always a nightmare, just because of weather. No, excuse me, but I would say like the earliest, at least as somebody who took a few pre-med courses and kind of knows a little bit about epidemiology, I would say the very earliest that I would actually anticipate would be the winter season, which I guess would be season 7, right? So.
Yep.
But yeah, I would
Yeah.
take that with a massive grain of salt because if we've learned anything from this pandemic in North America, we're great at making things worse when they should get better and not giving a single fuck. So
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I've been telling like a few people who asked me like, I was actually on like RGL like land staff back whenever we had to pull the plug on that, and people like will sometimes message me and ask like, "Hey, when's the next land? When's the next?" And I'm like, "Man, season 7, season 8, like it'll probably be during the summer, like 'cause, people will be free from school and it's just easy like to get people all kind of rounded up and whatnot." But I think I heard like some whispers that RGL actually still has like a deposit down on the venue. So if anything, I would kind of
Yeah.
anticipate it like being either in New Jersey or Helix also has a true Wisconsin land. Wisconsin land. That doesn't kind of
Ooh,
work.
that's a name.
That doesn't kind of like roll out right. You gotta like work on saying
Yeah.
it. It's like a foreign language.
having talked to
Wisconsin.
Daff and actually subbing because I was subbing on Daff's team at the time that he was head admin and LAN ended up being canceled. I believe, unless something has changed, part of the reason that the prize pool, even after like we shifted to online, wasn't bigger and wasn't like the normal amount, was because the funds we didn't get a refund from Helix, to my understanding. Was that they kind of gave us an IOU, like we'll give you a LAN when things are better, and I think it was under the premise that a lot of Americans were under, where it was like, maybe the rest of the world too. I don't know, but at least for most people in North America that I talked to, it was like, yeah, the pandemic won't last that long, right? And we're staring down the barrel of a year at this point.
That's
so.
it, man. I actually
It's
would be
okay.
opposed to like, I'm not sure if you guys ever saw like their they have, well man, where's the other Helix place? I think it's in like, oh no, Boston? I think it's
I was
in
gonna
Boston.
say because isn't Helix Gaming like the part of the Boston Uprising, the Overwatch League
Yeah,
team, right?
yeah,
Aren't they owned by like the same
they
parent
have-
company?
They have a facility in Boston for that. Which, I think that'd be fun too.
Boston
but, like,
land,
Boston land. I think
I'm
scouts get
biased. I
stronger.
want it to stay where it is because I live close to it.
True. Dude, actually, I was so ready for that land. It was crazy. I was actually going to be sponsoring 100 Bs for that land, and it was actually kind of fun planning it all out because, you could just take like a ferry across the river and be in New York.
Mm.
Yeah, that's,
I was in the same boat where I live within driving distance in the Midwest, and I was very much considering going just to go hang out. And especially too because RGB also didn't happen this year, and it had been about a year since I landed at that point in North America. So very disappointed, but I'm hoping that come 2022, and hopefully things will be getting better. While we're on the topic of pandemic and video games, this is your friendly reminder to stay the hell home and don't see a bunch of people. Keep your bubble small.
And if you
don't
are
be
seeing
ratchet.
people, wear masks.
Definitely,
Yes.
Like, it's simple as that. Yeah.
I had another little snippet for RGL land. So we actually had like a little production idea going around in the Discord, but I'm not sure if we're gonna do it again. But we were talking about doing like a hot ones kind of thing with like the invite teams, and we were gonna use X-Time's hot sauce kind of to
Holy
get that
beast.
going. But
That's genius.
maybe when we get this land going, we can run that back. I think it'd be really fun.
Oh well. If you guys don't have LAN this year, you can always watch LAN in Australia because we don't have COVID. Happy days. So we'll see you
I'm
at
jealous.
LAN. Oh wait,
I'm
you
flying
can't
to
fly
Australia
over.
right now.
Enjoy the 2-week hotel quarantine.
So I've already had to do it twice. So
You've already had
not
to
in a
do it
hotel,
twice. Wow.
but yeah.
Right.
Yeah, shout out to the people of North America. Actual perfect 100 IQ individuals.
Poggers. Is there any other things we should talk about? I think we've covered almost everything about
I
season.
think that's everything that we had for at least on the I'm triple checking all the pages on the Excel doc. I think that's all of the things that we had to talk about. Yeah, I think that's everything.
Alrighty. Well, I've got a bunch of shoutouts that I'm forced to read out, and then I've got my own. Phoenix Red for providing us the cheat feed that helps production a lot to give you the best frags possible on stream. Got JMax Chill who log scrapes for our data. All of the RGL admins, you're great. Ira does all the scheduling and stuff, which is awesome. And Aaron who makes all the graphics, which is also great. My personal shoutouts. Shout out to Capping TV. Shout out to you guys for joining me and helping me here. And the Summer Brawl is this weekend. It's 5 a.m. I think Eastern time for you guys. So get up early and watch it because it's the best playoffs I think Australia has ever had. It will be awesome. There's a lot on the line. I think we've almost got $800 on the line now, and it's on the front page of Twitch. So you should come. Yeah.
Yeah, so for all you late night puggers, maybe stay up a little extra and watch some AU TF2.
Yeah, we'll get a viewing channel, the Mumble, Spitty Mumble, or whatever. Anyway, Alexandros, do you have any shoutouts?
Shout out to my team. Shout out to Caps for being a fan. And I think that's about it.
Nick?
I want to shout out Looster200. I believe he's the one who made a fair amount of the Excel doc. I was seeing him edit it even minutes before we went live. And for doing a lot of the production stuff. You know, we get to be the people on the microphone. We just get to show up and talk, but him and I do a lot of the work, so I want to make sure that Looster's getting some love too. Because he doesn't get to be the dude behind the microphone as much. Shout out to Maccabeus. Death the Tyrants while we're at it. And who else? So hold on. Anybody else? Shout out to Brando.
Awesome. And Witness?
Well, I guess I gotta shout out Cheris, who says he's gonna get rid of my donor benefits if I don't shout him out. So that'll be it. Shout out all my homies in the Ether Mumble. Shout out everyone on Witness Gaming. I love you guys. Shout out Jay. That's really about it. Love everyone. Thank you guys for bringing me on so short notice. I know you're kind of scared. I'd sound like an idiot. I guess I do still sound like an idiot, but I'm really happy to give me an opportunity here, man. Appreciate it.
I forgot to mention there's also the Europe event this weekend as well. Locked Down and Loaded, I think it is. Either way, that's a good one to watch as well if you got time. Thank you, Nick, for helping me today again, and Looster again. This has been Fully Charged, episode 53. It's North America, the RGL Season 5 preview. Till next time. Good night, yeah.